So my levels look all right. They look like how I would normally have them. If you want to just have a quick
cinnamon buns.
Yeah, you could probably get away with being... Actually, I'll just turn you up, not muting you.
Do you know that reference?
I feel like I do, but don't at the same time.
It's funny because I saw that you were watching the remake recently. It's from iCarly. It's what Freddie says to like warm himself up on the mic.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh.
For some reason, iCarly was a big part of my childhood.
Oh, have you looked?
I haven't touched it yet. I don't want to be like destroyed.
It's feverish. It's so strange because it feels like it's still aimed at people who used to originally watch.
Well, because they acknowledged the meme, didn't they? Of like Carly sitting by the PC or whatever.
Yeah,
they did that.
Yeah, so they obviously
parallel.
They brought that parallel, but it was just stuff like, if you take it out of context, some of the storylines are wild. Like there's a whole episode where Spencer accidentally hires an escort to look after Freddie because Freddie is.
Didn't he have like 2 ex-wives or something?
So he has 2 ex-wives. One of them they have an adopted daughter. He has an adopted daughter with.
Oh god.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty interesting because it is like really progressive, but not in a way that like you can tell that they're just trying to virtue signal. Like it genuinely is very well thought out in a way.
I think I could genuinely just have like a whole podcast discussion just on like iCarly and Drake and Josh and just like these old school Nickelodeon shows.
I watched because I was like I try at the moment I'm trying to watch like a film a day and just always be, because you never know when you're going to watch your next favorite film.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I'm cranking out films whilst I don't have anything really going on. I'm like, right, let's get these films cranked out. Let's find something that I can like relate to or whatever.
Something that'll make me feel something again.
Yeah. Something that'll make me feel whole again.
Yeah.
But the funniest thing was when I was possibly like delegating my next like hour, 2 hours to a film. I was like, oh, that seems a lot. But then in my YouTube recommended was like this video essay cut like piecing together Cat Valentine from Victorious.
Okay.
And it was like an hour and a half, and I was like, oh, I'll watch a little bit of that. I watched the whole thing.
So while looking for an awesome movie to touch you end up watching.
Well, it's like, as in like, because my thought process was, instead of watching a movie that takes up time, I'm going to take up the same amount of time watching some dude talk about.
I mean, I guess it's really what you want it for the values, right? You're still absorbing information either way. I mean, whether it be from some random obscure movie or Cat Valentine from Victorious.
Well, I mean, like, it genuinely, like, some of the things they talk about really weirds you out how clever, like, our era of Nickelodeon was. Like, Victorious, iCarly, Drake and Josh, all of them are like... And Victorious, I think, is one of the best written ones. Like, watching this again and then watching a couple, because I did rewatch the collab film iParty.
Okay,
Victorious,
yeah, I remember that.
Which is, I find, and I always wanted to talk about, there's this really fascinating moment where, because obviously Victoria Justice, who plays Tori, she's played a character in iCarly before.
Oh, really?
Do you remember the I Go to Japan when she fights?
Yes, I do. I was going to say in the ring,
when she's a boxer.
Yeah, I remember their stupid gloves.
Yeah, so like within the first 15 minutes, there's this really meta moment where like Freddie's looking at a picture of Tori and it's like, this girl looks exactly like the girl that you had a fight with in Japan. And it's, I don't know, I just found that so funny.
Yeah, I guess when you're going back to these things, you do actually really recognize what's going on. It's like with The Simpsons and stuff. Like you actually, when you watch it as an adult and you understand, you know, how the world works and all these things, it's just that I think it's almost like they put these things in so like the mums and the dads, the parents, like get to have a little fun while their kids are watching the shows, because the kids aren't going to know what these things mean, right?
Well, I mean, one example always was when I woke up in the morning and would watch whatever's like. I think for me it was Ned Declassified School Survival Guide.
Yeah, also great classic.
Yeah, like iconic. That got me through some shit. And my dad would always be watching. Like he'd always be like, "Oh, what's this? What do you?" My dad loved Hannah Montana. Like something the way Hannah Montana worked. Like he was just very entertained by it. But yeah, like legit, especially, and which is why I don't know if I'm noticing it with this iCarly reboot. If I'm just noticing the original plot lines more clearly because I'm older, or they are pandering towards an older audience, and because there are, like, I mean, like they do swear occasionally now. They openly talk, or at least refer to sex, which they never even dreamt of.
Yeah, I was gonna say if like Freddie got like an escort to look after him, like I mean that's it must be for like a young adult.
And
audience,
there's like
right?
I mean there's some like there's weird narratives on like modern slavery on they talk about stocks at some point. It's just
what platform is it on? Sure, it wouldn't have been on through Nickelodeon, right? That just seems the same.
Oh, what is it? Is it Paramount has their own streaming service?
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
Yeah, that just like sounds like something you could just slap on there and be like, this is this.
Yeah, legit. But yeah, it's like Spencer's now like a multi-millionaire.
Oh fuck.
So he when Trump got elected, like in the law, when Trump got elected,
the deep iCarly law.
The deep iCarly law. He did a big mushroom sculpture of the White House, but it accidentally caught fire. But he like walked it off and was like, that was intentional, and then everyone paid like millions for it. And yeah, made him a big, like when you like the new set is like super modernized. Carly now lives somewhere else. She has her own place. She lives with this I
was gonna say how bad did they address the Jeanette McCurdy?
Oh yeah,
thing?
so the only thing they kind of do so far is that I think they allude to the fact that Sam ran away or is like in prison. I can't actually remember. But yeah, because obviously I'm pretty sure, is it Dan Schneider, the feet dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's still like an executive producer of it.
Oh my god.
So, yeah.
I guess he must have the rights or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I mean that dude's got when it comes to fingers in pies, my man has a lot.
Gross. Well, it was a lovely little chat.
Well, this is funny because this is technically the day call. Like, it's not the night call podcast right now.
Yeah.
We're filming in the. I mean, I guess coming up to evening. When do you specify when the evening is? Like,
Is it like 5, like 4ish? That's probably like. I mean, yeah, probably like 5. I think that's like the cutoff for me.
yeah. I think it's when you finish work, like when generally work. So between 5 and 6.
Yeah, 4 still feels like an afternoon. Have like an afternoon Sunday lunch or something like that, right?
Yeah. Because there's still the concept of late afternoon. So I guess there must be.
I don't know, man. If we go by like Hobbits, then like there's enough different fucking things to go.
Yeah, late morning brunch. Late
Wasn't 11sies a thing?
11sies.
Yeah, I don't know.
Happy hour. Yeah.
It's nice and rainy. My hair's still wet.
It was horrible. I was really kind of like, I think it rained quite a bit yesterday, so I was like, you know what, I'll wait until Sunday to do stuff. And now Sunday comes around and it's looking good. Like even now the sky is starting to blue out a bit. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go out, and it's about to go out, and then I'm on my computer, and I'm like my back's to the window, and I can just hear.
Well, I saw you put on Instagram a rainy deep post.
Vibe.
Yeah,
I do. I mean, I'm feeling the rain at the moment. Like I do like the rain, and I've always there's an aesthetic and like there's a feeling that rain gives, but like summer rain and like that rainy smell.
Yeah,
all of that. I'm just
I walked out of work, kind of regretted I didn't have my hat with me, and then it took me about like 2 minutes walking down the road, and I was like, man, this is actually really nice. And I'll just kind of like stroll home, But the after feeling of being like a bit like a wet dog is kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Being wet, not so fun. Being out in the wet, so it could be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. But it does bring out, like, I'm like, oh, let's get some moody music on, go for a stoic walk on my ones in the rain, and watch the water beat off my expensive jacket or something stupid.
Oh, spicy.
Oh, yes.
Very atmospheric.
Very. I love, like, the... like yesterday, I went for a drive and literally parked the car up and just, like, opened the sunroof so, like, the rain was hitting the glass of the sunroof of my car. Just put some music on. I was just like, yeah, this is it. This is nice. I can have this for like a little bit. I'll have this moment. Thank you. And sat with that, and that was nice.
I do like just kind of like go on a walk, appreciate the kind of like nature and stuff. I think a lot of people just kind of like walk about and just need to go where they need to go and don't really take in what's around them a lot of the time.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I can go into hiking or all that, but like the soundscape that you get with a walk just makes me want to talk about like the soundscapes you build.
This is my D&D deep walking soundscape.
Exactly. It's like when I'm out walking and I stick on like the Oblivion, like boop, 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 boop.
I actually, speaking of that, I saw a post that was like Skyrim and Oblivion stuff. Their music is meant to keep you engaged, so that's why people often like listen to it while studying, things like that, because it really just kind of like helps with the brain, I guess.
I think it genuinely, because of the style of music, it shifts your mindset. And I think it's the same reason stuff like lo-fi hip-hop got really popular.
Yeah.
Because it's inherently just comfy. Like,
I mean, lo-fi beats to study to is like still,
yeah, it's almost like it needs to be, like it needs to get a Grammy. Someone deserves a Grammy for the invention of that. I think what's fascinating for me is like how lo-fi hip hop can sound like warm and fuzzy. Do you know what I mean? Like you listen to it and it's like, like ooh, all of a sudden like I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, I mean, not gonna lie, I've been listening to a lot of lo-fi stuff recently, and that coincides with my cyberpunk D&D. Like I have I think 140 music tracks now, and I'd say maybe like 70% of that is just like lo-fi nice beats that I can just like put on. It's just good for that kind of just vibe. It helps everyone get engaged into the atmosphere and things,
Well, sure. Like, I mean, when I don't want to say when I used to DM as if I'm never going to DM again, because I really hope.
Back in my day when I was a DM.
When I used to roll the dice, I used to play the Sky. To be fair, I never actually used to play Skyrim. My go-to was obviously because Alex, he used to obviously he was very loyal to what was it,
Dwarven Forge.
Dwarf Fortress or whatever it's called.
Oh, Dwarf Fortress the game.
Yeah.
Dwarven Forge is the bloody terrain stuff that you can get.
No, so Dwarf Fortress, he would loyally play like the soundtrack from that.
I mean, I remember from your campaign you had, is it just like the menu music or something like that? It's very classic. Music,
which I thought was quite good because it mixed quite well with. I
think I used that as well.
I tried to be so varied though, so a lot of the time I kind of fell into just using like the RuneScape 3, terrible game. Well, not terrible, but not a great game. But the soundtrack is insane. Like,
man, RuneScape has so many good
remastering.
Good
yeah, like the remastering of the RuneScape stuff is like the second remastering of Harmony is just incredible. And I always liked like after a particularly tense bit of roleplay during D&D or like a boss battle or something, and you guys get out of the dungeon,
yeah,
you're safe, and then you just trickle in like the soundscape is like, right, let's get the wind blowing, the birds chirping. We'll get the leaves.
Just have everyone literally kind of take a breath.
And then you just stick on like Harmony version 2 and that like I can't remember.
It just does all the work for you,
it's like a violin and it's all of a sudden you just that's my favourite part of like with Dungeons and Dragons, that's what I'm trying to achieve. It's an addictive like form of escapism because you're not doing it by yourself. And like I mean I'm just not very good at like writing much, or like with Alex, for example, I feel like he was very good at storyboarding exactly what was going to happen, and he'd railroad these little sections of intensity. Like you can tell he's written out this incredible dialogue or this incredible action scene or like this twist or something that's coming up. And I kind of like, I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I felt like I had the grips of that. I could
toot it, Matt. As
like,
a DM, you can toot your own horn. It's allowed.
But like, I did want to, you know, what I liked to do in D&D was just perfect immersion. I wanted the writing to do itself. I wanted like it to be like a two-way thing, like with you guys in my party being calling the shots, and then what I just reacted to what you did basically. But my like what I loved to do was like, right, let's set up the exact soundscape for what it's like to be in a cave under a amphitheater that's like, so there's like, I get like the background music of there's some bard up above playing music, but there's this rain coming down into the cave and there's all these cave sounds and you can hear the bats, and every time the bard plays like a really high note, the bats would all flutter away. And I wanted to always get that kind of exact niche perfect soundscape scenario.
Yeah, I think that's like honestly like a great thing to focus on as a DM, because I think we touched upon this briefly when we chatted before, like people do it like different styles, and just like that level of immersion, and you know, just thinking about the exact strange like scenario that you would be in and how the things would react in the environment to just the environment itself. It's just this kind of like special like moment that you have with your players where, you know, you're kind of like describing the situation, and then you know, as you say, if like a bard could like be singing a song and then that sets off like the bats in the cave, or even like a, you know, maybe a riot could be happening up there and it sets off like a cave in or something like that. It's just so many levels, and that's really good, and I think the players appreciate that for sure.
Especially like my first initial like finding that soundboard and starting to do like
the classic soundboard.
You pull back your bow and then you get the sound of the bow pulling back and like the arrow just skimming.
That is actually one of the, I think if you ask any one of the members in our old campaign, like where I was a player, they would probably remember when you did that exact, like when Isaac like Sage like shot his bow and then you did the sound for so good.
Like I
remember that, and that's just like a small moment that just is really good.
Well, I think it's because you remember stuff as if it actually happened, because I guess it did in a way. Like I remember some of the key. It's just weird to kind of quantify, and I think like shows like, I think Stranger Things did a pretty good job of it. Community, I think, did a very good job of it. It sucks that episode isn't on Netflix.
Yeah, because
it does. I mean, we'll talk about that in a bit.
Oh god, I found out about that recently.
We can touch on that, but no, like for real, like I always remember there was this key moment in my three key moments, to be fair, come to mind, but the biggest one was in my campaign. It was just after what was the season finale? Which season was it for Game of Thrones when they used the Light of the Seven soundtrack? And they
Light of the Seven was when the place gets blown up, right? With all the stuff. It must be like 5 or 6, right? Yeah. There's only 7 seasons, isn't there, for Game of Thrones?
Oh god, I can't. Is that bad? I literally, because the last couple
I know,
was so bad.
It's been a darn while. I feel like 7 sounds right, because obviously 7, everyone knows the finale for that
was dirt. Yeah. Maybe it was 5.
Battle of the Bastards 6?
Battle of Bastards was the last of the good stuff from Game of Thrones, and even then, like a couple of the episodes before, they were starting to mess up like travel and like the time it takes to do stuff.
Yeah.
But No, so Light of the Seven was before Battle of the Bastards. And I've
Okay.
used the Battle of the Bastards theme before, but Alex used the Light of the Seven soundtrack for this penultimate session of our campaign. And it was just like, I remember reacting to what he was saying as if this was like some insane reveal of like Han Solo dying in Star Wars or something like that. It brought the same like nerdy like oh my god moment out of me. And so that's like a key memory because it kind of blurs the line where it's like, oh yeah, do you remember when we watched the midnight showing of Force Awakens and that epic thing happened? And like that's the memory. But then I can also talk about like, oh, do you remember that time when we were hiking like the top of Triffin and we went down that gully because we didn't know where to go, and that old climber guy came up to us and he was like, you guys should have had ropes when you did that. And we were like, oh well, we don't know, we're just trying to get down.
It
and
is
like,
interesting, right? Because
it's like
it is an
somewhere-
imaginary game,
Yeah.
a role-playing game. They are essentially, everyone has their own version of the memories of what they perceive the game is happening, right?
Yeah, it's like
Exactly.
somewhere between like, so for me, talking about D&D is somewhere between like talking about a pop culture moment, but also talking about an experience that I've actually had.
Yeah.
Because it does a bit of both. Because it's, and I try and communicate this with anyone who's like, oh, what is that Dungeons and Dragons that you play?
It is a kind of, now that I'm actually thinking about it, like big brain, it is a very unique experience to have, especially when you do have like a campaign that like goes on for like so long or something, or you're just so into like role playing with all of your team and everything.
Yeah,
And especially if the DM's great, like
for sure. It's crazy what like really good writing from the DM, but also just like the players understanding, because it's like this weird moment where it's kind of you're orchestrating something together and you're writing this story, and the only way that you can enjoy the story is if you put in the work to make it enjoyable. Like you can never, a game's always going to be shit if people are going to be half-assed approach to it, like it really gets hard for you to be genuinely like immersed in it. Like if you're come in and you're tired, you're not really in the mood, you really need to be like, if you want to enjoy D&D, you will find a way to enjoy it.
yeah. I mean, it is something that you can't really, like I have had a couple of players like in the past where I've just been like, do you want to join in and see what it is or whatever. It was so bad, like an absolute travesty. I think like right in the beginning of my campaign, we had a player who was just so bad at D&D, like not even to the level of just bad decisions or anything. It's just they just couldn't physically play the game. So one of my PCs just picked on him and it basically like trapped them in swords, and it was pissing them off in real life because they just weren't on that level really.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I mean, so obviously I think if we want to talk about the good old days when I started, I mean, I can't actually remember the span of time and the year but when I started the original, I guess we'll call it the Yorick arc, where Yorick was the most prominent character. Like, what was that, 2015?
Oh geez, dude. Yeah,
End of 2015, and it went on for probably like a year.
it's interesting because D&D, at least with you, is in such like a strange like place in my life. Like it's with like all mutual friends,
Yeah.
but like compared to like everyone else I know, it's not like I see you super regularly or anything.
No, that's
so
the thing.
if I like try and put a label on any of the events at the time, I can't really like match them up. I guess it's almost like the D&D memory thing. Like I remember what happens in D&D
Yeah.
because that's really what we were doing together.
All I remember is that it was every Wednesday night, and we started at like 7 and finished at like 11.
Yeah.
But outside of that, we barely even acknowledged that even was a thing. Do you know what I mean? Like it was kind of like, and we started like, it was just fascinating. I think when we started off with, was it 4 players? We started off with some me.
Oh man, well we had the first ever game that we played, remember? And then that was like me, and we had some people that weren't there for the usual like regular group.
Yeah.
So obviously like our groups like me, Paul, Liam, and Sam, right, and Isaac, pretty much. But we also had, I think it was just like some of your friends, because I remember one of them was meant to, or they did go in a bathtub or something and become like a celestial or something, like in the first game, because it was the intro game.
Yeah,
you were doing some really weird stuff.
Well,
it might have been like Harry or something.
I really want, it might have been, I'm pretty sure maybe Harry and James were involved, but I really wanted, what I remember was like the whole point of the campaign is I wanted it to be like an introduction to D&D for anyone. So, because I mean, we were like at one point we had like weekly 10-man session, like 10 players a session. I remember when people were crowding around, and I was like way over my head. Some of those games
never
were
do
like
that.
14 players, I think was, and then, but it was like, at the time, it was fucking amazing because we were all on this one ride together, you know?
Yeah.
And it was because you just brings in everyone, and all of a sudden you got these different types, and we had the thing, like we had the incident with Jono, where he gets fucking...
classic.
And then we get... And, like, people get attached to different... Like, I remember...
I still love that Imo just murdered him, sorry.
Exactly, yeah. And obviously, like, everyone had those different arcs that they had planned in the back, and then we had, like... I mean, I can barely remember the majority of the storyline, apart from a little bit of the Isle of Jun storyline I still remember.
Yeah.
Because that was the only thing that I hadn't borrowed from Alex. Isle of Jun was completely me.
I think that was probably the biggest kind of like experience that we had. Like Isle of Jun with the big citadel.
Yeah.
And... what was the stupid, when we were going across the ice or something to get back, and you had some like giant walrus or something come out of the ice?
Yeah.
I feel like Orpheus just like punched it or something like that in classic Orpheus style.
Yeah. It was supposed to be that sort of like, you know, Avatar: The Last Airbender. What's the big mammoth thing that's in that? I can't remember his name.
What, Upper?
Yeah.
The bison?
It was loosely kind of supposed to be like an amphibious...
For some reason, all I'm thinking of now is Mandalorian. With the big... Yeah.
I mean, I did it before Mandalorian.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, now that's more of like a real life reference.
I better go make some calls, actually. You guys obviously stole this.
How'd you get my secret D&D recordings?
Exactly. Well, to be honest, now I've got this podcast equipment. If I do return to D&D, it's definitely going to get recorded.
Yeah, I mean, that'd just be such a great way to just go back and see what your players have done, and then figure out sneaky things to do.
Yeah, I think because I told you I kind of wanted this to be a more short nerdgasm of a podcast. What I'll probably do is I'll soundscape to this podcast. So whilst we're talking,
that'd be fancy.
I'll bring in some.
You need to get that arrow in there for when we yell. Oh yeah.
You know. I'll see what I can do, but I literally I looked back on the D&D stuff so fondly, and I, weirdly enough, like just to get on like a little deep tangent, but I think a lot of my confidence was born from being a dungeon master.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you've commandeered like 8 people's evenings. At one point, like 14 people were hanging on everything I said. You know what I mean? And like,
you have to kind of sit there and be like, oh fuck, I have to sit here for the next like few hours and actually like make a world for these people to play in and react to stuff that they're doing. And there's almost like a level of expectation when you're playing a PC to, you know, you are expecting your DM to actually do stuff that is cool and keeps you engaged and everything. And obviously, that's hella stressful when you're doing it.
It really helps to we had such a mixed skill level as well. Like, because obviously I had the experience of being a player character beforehand, but then I brought in old player characters, and because I played with you before I started hosting games. I'm pretty sure we played a couple games as Alex DM, because that was the
I've played with you for Cyberpunk, for sure. That was super fun.
Cyberpunk, the Cyberpunk arc was literally like a fever dream for me. Like, if I look back on it now, I just remember like blurry evenings in Nick's like playroom or whatever he had with the dining table and.
Well, it was mostly Joe's. I think there was maybe like a couple, maybe 1 or 2 nights at Nick's, but I think there were maybe like 3 or 4 of the games were at Joe's.
Yeah, so I specifically remember like 2 that were at Nick's, but I mean, and I completely forget about the ones that were at Joe's, and they were great.
I remember a lot of the stuff that happened in that campaign because it's very fresh in my brain considering I'm making my own Cyberpunk now, but there was so much dumb stuff that I'm like, this was almost like genius and in a level like not a normal D&D campaign, but so sick. Like, I mean, Joe's player, I can't remember what the names are apart from our name or the name for our characters, but him and Alex just almost having this like just love brainchild of them trying to make him do a comedic routine inside the game.
Yeah.
And that was just so amazing, but hard.
I literally, it's all flooding back remembering the stuff because Joe's space as well I found because literally at one point it was just this dark room we used to just sit in.
Yeah.
And that was like the main space for a long time. But that was that just for the Cyberpunk campaign, or did I ever do any? I'm pretty sure Joe hosted some regular 5th edition games there as well. But
I've never played regular 5th edition, so that would not be me.
Well, homebrew kind of similar to how we played, but with a little bit more. I think it was dice versus dice instead of dice versus world, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And then obviously we had the huge game.
Yeah, the
pub.
I don't even know what to call it. Just
because it felt like a season finale, but we kind of just carried on after it.
It was like our Avengers Endgame.
Oh, it literally was.
Yeah.
It literally was. I mean, to get that lined up, so what? We were talking, so we hired a...
Or maybe it was the Infinity War and we've got Endgame yet to come.
Oh, mate, I mean, I don't
Spice.
There's people who attended that game who I definitely haven't spoken to since.
There's people who attended that I can't even remember if they were there or not.
So...
There were people who were there that you would never have expected to play, like, D&D.
The one person I'm so surprised turned up was Immo's friend Poppy.
Yeah.
When she turned up, I was just like, "What? Yeah. Where are we? What's going on?"
I think I remember her doing some quite fun stuff as well.
She literally and what was really fun about a lot of Immo's friends who came on board is that even though because they were completely new to this concept of D&D, in most cases, and it was just like once you just tell them like literally you can do whatever the fuck you want, it was all of a sudden like doable for them.
Yeah.
So they just it's once you, I feel like people accidentally limit themselves because they overthink what they can and can't do. I'm like, you literally can do anything.
They make their own barrier, and it's strange. And when you just kind of, I think that's why having other more experienced player characters who will just come out with at least I tried to just come out with some stuff that was just like absolutely off the rails.
Yeah.
Then it incentivized them to try absolutely wonky stuff as well.
Oh, for sure.
Because you can't just say like, I'm going to try break this door down, or you could try and be like, I'm going to try and, melt the hinges off of it, or try and see if I can make a poison concoction to try and kill the people on the other side or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, there's
just so many layers.
And I was like, I just remember stupid memories of like when we used to do map plays with the map out and my cat jumped up on the table.
Yeah.
And then Alex just played it into the game and was like, okay, giant animal lands in front of you in Miller's field. And it's like, it just gets hilarious because all of a sudden it's like, she like pats one of our player characters and we're like, you just took 50 damage. And this just fucking, like, it's so dumb. But it's like hilarious. And, God, that fucking game, man. 23 people, I think, attended in the end. And
I literally have no idea.
We got the lighting set up.
There could have been 50 people and I wouldn't have even known, man.
I had this crazy idea that it was going to be like this crazy, like monthly thing where we'd meet up and there'd be like 20 of us in a ring playing a game, but like everyone at the pub would be standing around watching, hanging on every word, and it would be this really cool,
Yeah.
like grimy underground club thing that we had going on. I had the craziest, like that would have been so cool, but like that snippet of like Alex brought in this incredible soundtrack and I'm still trying to find it. I think it was called like The Way or something, and he goes off on that crazy monologue at the end which ties up all the loose ends, and it's because it's like this crazy thing where like
most people are like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
Zero context to the lore.
So obviously like a group of us knew, so basically the whole thing was it was the combination of my old campaign when I was in secondary school and then the campaign that I'd put together with you.
Yeah.
But we'd all canonized it in the same universe because it's just easier to know every universe is in one. Like, so it was all, I can't remember what was the name of the fucking map?
The Anno Realm.
The Anno Realm, yeah. So it was all based around the Anno Realm. And obviously there was overlap. So this whole like last game was the idea of combining those two. So I, instead of playing your DM, I was now my old character again.
Yeah.
But we were now on almost an equal playing field at that point, because I hadn't played my campaign and you'd had time to catch up. So there was this really weird but cool juxtaposition where all of a sudden there's like a good 10 of us who were actually pretty high leveled, like well developed characters. The other 15 people were literally like anywhere from like level, like brand new levels, fresh levels to like level 10s.
I mean, literally like beginners, right? I mean,
I don't think anyone who attended that session, it was their first game.
Yeah, not their first game, but like,
But they were like,
there was definitely people who
Yeah.
must have only been their like third game of D&D or something. You know, and I, not gonna lie, it did show. There was one specific moment that I think that's probably the most prominent thing I remember from that game, thinking about it now, was that sand floor room in that like dungeon place.
Oh my
and the
God.
amount of people that were just who just couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like, I could just easy mode it because I just used airwalk, and everyone else was just like struggling.
I can't remember.
But I
if
think we had to go down or
Yeah.
something in classic sand fashion.
Yeah.
But I just remember it was a big struggle. It was kind of like a moment where you could see people were stretching their brains trying to understand what to do.
And a lot of it was like, because obviously with like the stupid over functionality of a 25-man game is going to struggle because not everyone is going to have to be like, all right, I do this. And then it's like, a lot of the time it's like 5 prominent players overcasting the general what's going on. Like a lot of people were purely like spectating pretty much, even though their characters were there. I found that quite interesting. And I always wonder if we did continue with that scale, if those people would have developed further.
Well, I think it's one of those situations where it's like get in or get out, right? Because if you see that they're not getting involved and you see that they aren't trying to get involved, like they're not being shot out by other players accidentally or something, or you know, even intentionally, God forbid, you know, you can actually just sit down and be like, are you actually enjoying this? Do you actually want to play? Because, and I say this to my guys, I like, not to like, as you say, toot your DM horn or whatever, but like, I like to get feedback because,
yeah, for sure.
You know, we do as DMs sit down for a long time and we craft these things. It comes from our brain, and there's like a sense of like, it is like our creative child. Like as much as people would like write a book, I write my D&D campaign, and even if there is this like weird level of obviously that I'm not fully writing the story because my players will also be writing my story at the same time, and if someone just doesn't want to get involved in that, then it's just one of those just feel bad moments, because it's like you don't want to waste your time writing some epic like singular scene for their character and then they don't get involved at all, they don't get engaged, or they don't try and do anything awesome, or you know, like just encounter their like nemesis or something like that, and then just like flop over or just say like, sure, kill me. I don't know.
Well,
there's enough examples.
So, yeah, like,
but
obviously, like eventually with my campaign, one of the key things I had to eventually do was just I mean, I remember I used to post like, right, six slots available. Who's coming tonight? Because I'm not having any.
Yeah,
more
God,
than 6.
I cannot remember that. I do remember that though. Now I remember we had our group chat and it'd just be like slam to get first in.
It's like right, who's
D&D first to get.
literally, and like it was just this crazy moment. But at the same time, because obviously the people who were really into it would flesh out their characters and be developed.
Yeah, and that was the
so
main.
then the characters would like
main people
get into the universe better, you know. Like
Yeah.
so, I if you give me stuff to like as a DM, if you gave me stuff to work with, then we're on a good path because I can work with what you're giving me, which comes back to what I was saying. Like if you put in the effort to enjoy D&D, you will enjoy D&D, you know. Like you can't just show up and be like, oh, I don't know, I'll go talk to the shopkeeper.
But maybe some people just have like a social barrier or like an anxiety barrier or even something like that. But it's so easy to just get over. D&D is a place where you do just let loose with your friends and just come up with some weird
you
fucking
need to be
shit.
super comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, and I noticed with for me and like for watching people play, I noticed that there's definitely like you say with an anxiety thing, but on top of that there's like this strange phenomenon where you start to figure out who spends a lot more time in their head and the people who spend a lot more time, like funnily enough, the members that we had join our party who were like, oh yeah, they're like really outgoing, they go traveling, they do loads of stuff, and they come here and they're like, oh, I don't know like what to do.
Yeah.
But then like matey boy who is like has his head in books all the time, doesn't really go out of his hometown, is like all of a sudden is like, right, so I am a half android bard dwarf who has a distinct past with the high elf, so if he meets a high elf then he ends up crying, and then it's like all like, and then people who like lean into the vices and the virtues, you know, all of that, and really as opposed to like Mayboy
and he's come back from the future to save Sarah Connor.
Exactly, you know, like literally.
Yeah.
Well, because obviously, so like my character was birthed out of pure let's not take D&D seriously. My character was literally me being into fashion.
I mean, everyone knows you as Raph the Lich, right? Not a lot of people actually know the origins.
It's completely disconnected at this point.
Yeah.
But like, so the original, like 3 years before the end,
it's literally Raph Simmons, right?
Was literally I'm the Belgian fashion designer Raph Simmons, who somehow gets taken by a warlock out of like the real world and into this D&D world. And literally in the first session, he was already like, he finds a sewing kit, and he all of a sudden has to like, he's like, right, you've got to fashion yourself some clothes so you fit in at this ball so no one gets you arrested or whatever. But then obviously you start to, it kind of turned into this Far Cry 3 thing for me, where he ends up actually, he doesn't, at the beginning he's like, I need to find a way to get back, but like the more he lives in this world, the more he kind of owns it, and all of a sudden Raph Simmons is no longer Raph Simmons, but he becomes, you know, Raph the Ranger for a little while.
Yeah.
And then obviously the Lichification series happens, where there's like this weird, and I remember because we brought,
that was through like an epic series of roles and one of your friends, right, helping you.
Yeah, so Sabine only showed up for 3 sessions to specifically help with that, and then
little cameo,
and then after that she was like, cool, I've done my bit. So that was quite funny, and I remember those because those episodes were in were at Alex's house, and that's a lot more intimate setting, I think, because his dining room's quite small, and there's always like, it's 4 players, you can't do any more than 4 players. But yeah, so obviously Raph eventually gets lichified, and then there's this like crazy override of alignment as well, and I think that's like another thing that people, because I think if you really want to be into D&D, I think your focuses have to be alignment and vices and virtues. If you really want to get good writing and stuff, and like this is no shout out, but or call out, should I say, but Liam used to literally, I remember he would pick, it would be evil, so he can do whatever he wanted,
evil,
and he can do whatever he wanted, and he had like maybe 1 vice that he actually acknowledged, and I'm like, right, do you like, So
You need to get your shit sorted,
yeah,
mate.
so like Raph at the beginning was, because he didn't really know, he was kind of neutral good. He was like, I'm gonna do the good right thing. But then as he gets more into the world, and like the whole thing is that he just like is very aware of how dark the place he was and how he has to stay on top is to change his perspective. So then he's like, boom, let's get electrified. We do that process, and then he's fucking true evil. But then you've got to think, if you are true evil properly, you can't just do whatever you want. You have to do what like the evil thing is. Now you literally can't have any compassion, really.
Yeah.
And you can't you have to align to a certain. I remember there was this like there was a time when the original warlock that brought him out of the Earth world showed up in this game, and I can't exactly remember what happened, but I remember there was this bit where the warlock that brought Raph into this world was a lot less evil than how Raph had become, and it kind of turned into this moment of like the creature, like, you know, Frankenstein moment. The creature I created is too powerful, blah blah blah.
When you realise you fucked up.
When you realise you fucked it. And luckily, if it wasn't for James's character, who because I was like, right, what can we do? I think I've been watching a lot of kaiju films at the time. I was like, right, we've seen like a litrified dragon. That's old news. Let's get a litrified Hydra going. And I had this litrified Hydra set up perfectly, but like, because our games got so intense that no one was really talking anymore. Like, it was literally just like people were handing notes to the DM. He was rolling and he was like nodding. So I didn't realize, whilst I was like, right, boisterous, like I was on a roll, like, right, I've got my own like part of Han I converted into New Belgium. I had my like proper like fucking like tower, like Lord of the Rings, like fucking huge tower that my dragon would sit on top of, but I was like, fuck the dragon, I got a Hydra instead.
For non-D&D people, he was lost in the source.
Oh mate, I mean I was riding, like, it was, the character was definitely getting lost in the source, but even I was like, right, how far can I push this shit?
Yeah.
And because I was like, I had specific items that would override 20s, so even if I rolled like a 6, like fuck, what is the word? Modifier, there you go. I don't know where that came from, but yeah, my modifiers would just be like, yep, you rolled 400 or something crazy. Like, you know, it was getting mental, like god tier items. And I remember, James's character, who had, I think he was a paladin. So obviously he was like a direct nemesis of, you know, me, a litrified dude who's like evil, like had my own army of undead and all this.
Okay.
Without me knowing, he'd snuck down to New Belgium, found my artifact.
Your phylactery, yes.
Yeah,
I remember vaguely this.
And like, I remember I was going to do some crazy shit. Like, I think I was about to just like, I can't remember what was the main city. Not Herbatav, not Uscan. Yeah, I think I was about to just like absolutely destroy Uscan. And I rolled, and Alex like does like a whole like all of a sudden you just start turning to dust, and like, and then because obviously the phylactery for the dragon was where so like the phylactery for the Hydra got destroyed first, and the Hydra just disappeared from under me.
Yeah.
Like just faded away, and then like that was the end of the campaign. And for a minute I was fuming because I was too deep into the source. Like, I was so deep into it. I turned to like, James, this was you. I hate. And then all of a sudden, like, in the back of my head, I was like, wait, this is actually fucking like writing wise.
It's really epic.
This is a fucking.
I mean, I'm kind
moment.
of getting just little shivers thinking about it.
Yeah, like, it was like this crazy moment, and like with the music and everything playing, and like. And I was impressed with myself for getting like lost in the source.
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden, I was like, I'm in it. I was in it.
I mean, you want to evoke emotion. I mean, like, and there's a level of role playing, but you do. It's almost like actors doing. What is it called? They're like super. I'm calling it super acting, where they get really into it. Method acting. Yeah. I mean, it's like almost like a level of that where you want your players to really be playing their characters, like proper role play, and then you are trying to do these scenes that will affect them and literally like evoke emotions in them. And I've had moments before where for one thing, when I had you come in as Raph and literally knock on my front door, that was one of those ones where everyone in my room just instantly went like what the fuck?
Whoa.
And I did it again recently, and it still has like the same amount of effect. But even without doing like stuff with physical people in real life, when you just do these scenes that, at least I can think of one, and this is kind of like harkening back to Liam always playing shitty chaotic evil characters. Sorry, Liam, if you're listening to this, I love you. Where he just kills people.
Yeah.
In my campaign, that's exactly what he was doing again, and I had to directly do a moment where they met. At least in my lore, Amadalia, which is this super holy goddess, and she kind of just like walked up to his little like gnome body and just basically TLDR was just like, you're gonna fucking die, and I can save you if you want, and you'll become my champion, but someone else has to pick up this like blade, which extended from your campaign was my instead of Heartwood Root Blade, it was the
Bloodwood
Rot Blade. I changed it to.
So cool.
So he decided, like in character and obviously himself, to actually not play a chaotic evil character for once, and he ended up being lawful good. And for the next rest of my campaign was putting on this like, oh hello, I'm Rick Ventricle, this super nice, cute, horrible gnome voice, and loads of people were getting annoyed. And I was like, this is perfect. Like this is what you would want from your like lawful good interact with the rest of your other characters.
Yeah. Well, that's what. So obviously James did that as well. He eventually turned into like this super. He was like super like righteous, good paladin at one point, and I was just like, and my character was hating him because my character was kind of like, I converted a lot of the party over to the evil side, and we were like, yeah, let's all do evil shit together. But like within those last couple, like just stupid power level sessions, I just like, there was a point when none of the party were in the same place anymore.
Yeah.
And like I said, passing notes around, not even communicating between each other, because we were just like, we all had these crazy agendas that we wanted to carry out.
I will do a shout out to other Alex, not me, for being like the great granddad, like godfather.
Oh, for
like
sure.
We literally do have a D&D lineage. It is weird from him to you to me. I guess like maybe like me to George or something.
Well, yeah,
like,
obviously, so if George is doing it as well now, and like
he's done a couple one shots that were really fun.
Yeah, well, because obviously I think like I played like, I want to say as early as year 9.
Damn.
I was playing with Alex.
I wish I got into it sooner, to be honest. But like, I mean, I'm not going to give up the experience that we had. Like,
I wish I didn't like, if I had the facilities. I remember like my dad he was like, how cool would it be to have like a D&D cafe? But like you kind of have that space now, don't you? Like,
I mean, once I've moved into my new flat, it'll basically be not like a man cave, but it will be like a board game.
Well, that's the thing.
Central kind of situation. Yeah.
But even like on top of that, like I was actually referring more to where you work. You've got that fucking space.
Yeah. I mean, that is just perfect.
Like that's like, if I had a facility like that way back then, I don't think the campaigns would have died out, you know.
Yeah.
And like I love like, it's kind of like that Jumanji, like in the folders deep in my computer, there's a folder, and it's got that fucking book of like, it's written here, like or like when I got my old laptop out the other day.
Oh yeah, man.
And it was like, ooh, there's all these secret books that I'd written, like campaigns that I'd written that will probably never see the light of day.
It is like a really nice, refreshing feeling of nostalgia. And it's not even like you kind of like, you still go back and it's still stuff that you can work on and things like that. Like I've carried one of my favorite characters from my campaign into my Cyberpunk campaign because I just didn't want to give him up.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's the thing, like, even if, like, I was thinking if we start this Humble Tale campaign, which
you wanted a lot of like nostalgic references.
Yeah. So obviously,
to
like,
be self-contained,
but then to
still
be like self-contained and wholesome. The main thing is I wanted to do outside, which is annoyingly with this weather is kind of tough. And we haven't even fucking spoken. The Wimpole game.
Oh,
what
yeah.
a fucking mad game.
I still think of that just like every now and then, just for just how good it was, because at least in the, I mean, there was just like this, I don't know if it was just intentional on Alex's part, or I don't know if it was just like how everyone was just interacting with how the game worked. And even seeing that random dude there that night creeped us out even more. But there was this weird level of like Lovecraftian Eldritch vibes about that game, where I feel like everyone was just semi on edge.
Yeah,
in a weird way.
The game felt borderline paranormal.
Yeah,
like some weird shit. So like, all right, I'm just gonna tell the story because this might be a good note to semi-finish on, because we're already coming up to an hour.
It's okay.
Man, so that was not long. So that was during. Was Wimpole before the Orange Tree game?
Well, Wimpole was purely self-contained. It was all new characters and stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course. But there were still nod backs. I think we did. I can't remember, but I'm sure, like White Eyes popped up in it or something, because it was on like a jungle island or something. Anyway, so near us. A little bit of a docks, but whatever. We've got Wimpole Hall National Trust site in the back of it, mainly because I want whoever's watching this and actually cares, which is fine. If
to be like, they did that there.
Well, have a Google, look up like the Folly. So there was this Folly at the back, and this is like technically, which I found out, the Folly was never a full building.
Okay.
It was actually I'm pretty sure this is right. The owners of Wimpole Estate, when they first built it, built this pretend ruin at the back. So they had a nice view of an old ruin. So it's actually a fake ruin. Like
what?
It's not.
That's
which if you look at
so bougie.
Yeah. Which if you look at it, it makes sense. Like structurally, it's like, wait, how on earth did this work? Because it's this kind of like weird L shape where one side is left open. It clearly looks like a set piece. Anyway, so there's this place, and it's a ruin which is now ruined a little bit as well. And we snuck up late one. It was a summer evening, perfect settings for it, and like 3 cars like all pulled up at this, and we had to, because the site closes, so we had to sneak through a back gate, and we just
walk through a fucking field
pretty much, and then
from a country
road.
That
I think that's what made it already quite spooky. And I know a lot of the guys, I don't want to call out Joe, bless him, but I think I remember him turning to me and was like, this is genuinely creepy. Like this, because you turn up and it's pitch black. We're only lit by the moon at this point, and we get this fold-out chair, tables and chairs, and we squeeze into this tiny little like ruin of a tower. Like there's like literally like stone walls all around us, and we're in this little hole like cubby.
So I remember there's like what would you call them? Like little not portcullis. It's like little just like indents in the wall where we could put these little tea lights.
So we had little candles lit, and it was all around. It was just such a cool aesthetic. But I
mean, being in that kind of just setting anyway, even if you weren't playing D&D, is creepy enough.
Yeah, I remember. Like
you're playing a creepy D&D game on top of that.
I was chilly and on edge anyway, because we had like the speaker set up and everything, so that we were like fully immersed. But I was cold, and that set me more on edge because I was cold. I was like, oh yeah, it's a summer evening, t-shirt and shorts. But then the breeze started coming in at like around about midnight, and it was like, ooh.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're just playing. I think it is. So it's around about midnight, and we actually moved the set around a little bit, because I know at one point we were right in the middle of the Folly, and then we moved it to the final location to finish it.
Yes, just because we wanted a bit less like chill, windy and stuff. I'm pretty sure we wanted to be a bit more close quarters.
I know, like me and Alice initially planned that we wanted to switch between like 4 locations to kind of relate to where we were in the thing. So we sat in the middle, surrounded by the trees at the beginning, because that was when we were like in the jungle of this island.
Yeah.
But then when we got more to like the fortress and the dungeon, we moved to that turret, and we were in the turret. And I remember me and Sam were sat at the edge of the turret, where like there was no wall really. The wall had crumbled down, and you could see all the way down the valley to Wimpole Estate. And Wimpole Estate always had like one light on, and I just was like, yeah, that's fine, let's ignore that. And we're just like, I can't remember who noticed it first out of me and Sam, but like, no, I'm pretty sure it's Sam, because Sam kind of, does the nonchalance, not that deep. It's like, oh,
it sounds pretty blessed in those situations.
There's like a light, bobbing up and down, like over the lake, and we were like,
So we all shit it.
So we're all like, it's half. So like, you're shitting it in two ways. You're either shitting it because that's spooky as fuck, or you're shitting it because this is like some like National Trust security guard that's gonna come and fucking. And we're very aware that what we're doing looks like borderline like satanic,
like an occult meeting,
like ritualistic,
yeah.
candles lit. We're all wrapped in blankets, sitting around a
Imagine
table.
walking up like as a security guard and hearing like Alex put on the demonic voice or something like that.
Exactly, and like Alex is like, and there's this fucking spooky music playing. If someone walked in on, it's like, it's that classic instance where like if someone walks in and you're doing something so weird, it's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I literally like, you've just.
Sorry, we're just role playing.
Sorry.
Imagine if you were in LARP.
Yeah. So obviously, this like light is like bobbing up and down, and I'm talking, it's like midnight. There's no other lights apart from the one on at the estate, and then the moon, and then the tea lights where we are. So I'm starting to think, can they see the tea lights? How on earth are they seeing these little candle lights? And yeah, so a couple of the lads are spooked. I think eventually me and Sam go Chad mode, and we're like, right, we're gonna go meet this person just so he doesn't have to walk in on this fucking.
Disclaimer: we're not cultists.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so we get up and start wandering over, and as we're wandering over, the light disappears. And I think, I don't know if Sam does, but I start to get spooked. I'm like, where the fuck is this light gone? Whoever's walking here needs the light to fucking see.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it's like, so there's just this huge like space, like they have to walk up a hill to get to where we are. So we're walking down the hill, and like I can just about see in the moonlight like a figure just standing in the path between, and I'm pretty sure I turned to Sam and I'm like, can you, like, there's a figure right there. We can see that, can't we? And like for a minute, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, okay, if this isn't security, I'm genuinely concerned what's going on.
And it's this.
So we keep chatting it, and we're like, right.
It's like the stupidest thing.
Yeah, so we walk over, and after a while, I can see a fucking tripod. And I'm like, oh. And then like I get closer, and it's this guy, and he has this tripod and a camera set up, and he's taking pictures of the moon. And I walk over to him, and now we're close enough where we can't not say anything, you know. There is no one else
I can imagine
around.
that must have been.
If we just turned around and walked back,
yeah,
and he just knew that for a minute there was a guy's like 10 meters away from him, and then they just turned around and walked back to their candlelit ritual.
I would have probably ran.
Yeah, I got to the point where I was scared for him.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is probably seems really. So we went over to him, and we were like, I went up to him, I was like, hi, how you doing? I don't want to like come across weird. We thought you were security. We're not like sacrificing a lamb or anything up there. Like we're just doing some RP. We're just playing Dungeons and Dragons. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, I'm just
most blessed dude.
Yeah. So I'm just taking pictures of the moon, and I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, don't be weirded out. Don't call the police or anything. Now I start like walking away, and then for a minute I was like, his response to me saying we're a bunch of dudes playing D&D at 1 a.m. on a National Trust site in like a ruined castle, like. This is he was alarmingly calm. So I kind of turned around and I was like, do you play?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, a little bit of 3rd edition 3.5. I was like, do you want to fucking come sit in on our game? And he was like, he looks at his watch, takes 1, 2. He's like, take a couple more pictures, and then I'll come sit in. So we like stood there as he took like 2 or 3 more pictures of the moon, folded his tripod up, and he come. I
just fucking rolls up.
So,
and I think from my perspective, because we'd been sitting back this whole time, just waiting.
Did you carry on playing whilst we walked out?
I think because like obviously us guys are just smoking bits on us, so we probably just like took like a little break to roll or whatever. But yeah, I think we're just waiting for you to come back and then just roll up with this dude. We're like, oh, okay, sure. I think because we were all just like a bit spooked that, you know, either you guys wouldn't come back or you come back with security or something. Yeah.
But no, we ended up showing, and his name was, I think, Hal.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I'm still in like a Discord with a group of him and his friends where for a minute I was like, let's play another game. Let's do this. But yeah, so for the rest of the, like, I think it was only like an hour left. We were finished up before 2, maybe even earlier than that. But he sat in and just watched, like, listened to us play, and I think he like played as an NPC for a little bit of it, and it was this really uncanny moment where a complete stranger is now sat in our D&D game, which was already like, I didn't think we'd see anyone that evening.
I mean, yeah, it's a strange evening on top of a strange occurrence in a strange place,
doing a strange thing. You know, all of it was just strange.
It was like the dark side of the planets collided that night for us to just have like the weird... I almost think maybe it's just like the collective unconscious of all of us just expecting it to be weird made it weird.
Yeah.
But that also just is just like a... I mean, that's just a extra occurrence that you couldn't really expect. A lot of it was like, there's
something in the air tonight that made it weird. But on top of that, like the events that happened made it even stranger. And I can't remember what I wanted to talk about this for, if I was getting onto something else, but...
Yeah. I mean, it's just a good thing to talk about, you know. It's just like if we're talking about D&D, it's just like one of the big milestones for us.
Yeah, it's one of like, I think that's what I would talk about when it's one of the 3 iconic D&D
Oh, because we were chatting about the kind of like evocation of feeling that you would get from when like Wrath got dissolved.
Yeah.
That kind of just like deep immersion and atmosphere in games that just, so good.
Yeah, and because I think I still to this day would love to revisit
Wimpole.
The Wimpole Folly game, you know.
I would love to do Call of Cthulhu there, because I feel like that is one of those things where I could... I don't know, if I was DMing it, I could actually have people like walk around, like have their sheets on clipboards and stuff like that, and almost do like a, I don't know, like some kind of like... Oh man, have you know Until Dawn, right? You know Until Dawn?
I don't know.
The game?
Yeah?
Holy
It rings
crap.
a fucking bell.
It's one of the best games ever, like, at least in my opinion. Really good.
Is this the storyboard style?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the latest one...
the same as Detroit Become Human.
Essentially. Yeah.
Is it the one with Rami Malek in?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Hayden Panettiere, my babe.
Yeah.
But yeah, the latest one of those done by the same people, they... I won't spoil what happens in the end for anyone that wants to play the game, Little Hope. But they have this kind of just like level of like where they split back to the past, and it's like Salem witch trials, and then you have stuff happening in the future. So that could be some cool like level of like because obviously you're in a ruined area, but if you're trying to, at least in your current level of the game, be like, this is an actual house that you're in, and you can kind of like walk around the actual layabout, but then you could maybe have someone start tripping balls and then be like, you actually see this is the room and you are currently standing in real life.
Yeah.
That could be cool. But yeah, I just think it's a great area. I just think more D&D games outside, man.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I wanted to do the D&D. I've wanted to do like a walk-in D&D game before.
Yeah.
Like where it's almost, I don't want to say virtual reality, but roleplay reality.
I mean, if you exact mapped like the town, like obviously not what the exact places are, but if you just took the size of the buildings and the location and then just put that as your map, then there you go, right?
I was just thinking something as simple as like if we go off to like Chick Sands, you know, Rodney Warren, and it's like, and you just, as a DM, you're like, right, you wake up, your carriage is toppled over on one side, and your head hurts and it's throbbing, and you wake up in this forest, but then in real life, you get out of the car, you know.
You are you're actually in the forest.
And you're like, where'd you go? And it was like, oh yeah, we're going to walk over there. And it's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, even if you haven't like physically set anything up like real life, like a set or something, just like being in the area that you are actually in the game, and
it would help quantify.
It's free atmosphere. Yeah, free soundboard and stuff.
Obviously, I won't have Matey Boy turn up dressed as a wyvern, turns up, starts hitting you, but I'll be like,
that would be hilarious.
Wyvern turns up. Again, a wyvern turns up in front of you. But like, obviously, because I think the most weird meta thing I did was when we'd had that game where we were jumping dimensions, and we ended up in. I spent like a week learning the lore of what the town
lovely hometown. Yeah.
So I put us in our original which is some Saxon name. It's not even the same name as it is
Because
now.
it didn't even take us that long.
Well, it didn't even take you that long. The others had no idea.
Okay.
Because I remember because you came out and was like, "Are we in our hometown?"
Yeah. I think
And
it
I
was
was like,
just,
"Yeah." And then Liam was just like, "Oh,
the level. It's just the locations. I mean, you know, it is our hometown, so it's just yeah. That was a great game though.
Yeah.
I remember I was really sad when I couldn't take the sword through it with me at the end of the game. I wanted that as like a trophy.
Yeah.
That you had to like disintegrate.
Well, it was kind of, I had to do the classic, like, you know, in Portal when you get to do the next stage where, like, all right, disintegration barrier.
Going through universes is kind of a bit sketchy with like what you take with you.
Because obviously one of the huge reasons why I couldn't carry on the campaign, because it got just so complicated that I'd written this crazy campaign where it was like, right, universes are colliding with each other.
Yeah.
You're jumping through different realms. You're seeing different shit. You know, like I had like Twilly's staff from Adventure Quest.
Yeah. Adventure Quest, dude.
Fucking like full rune armor from Runescape.
You went
like,
full Omniverse.
like full, you know, Ready Player One Omniverse.
Yeah.
Like everything Master Chief could turn up any minute. You know, the whole
Space Jam 2.
Exactly. Everything together, you know, like on your left and like fucking like Falcon.
You got too lost in the DM source, you would say.
I just got in over my head. It would
Yeah.
have worked if I had the patience, but I was like, fuck, man, I've been playing D&D for like, this was like an 8-month campaign at this point, and I was like, right, let's just have a hiatus that has now lasted over like 3 years.
Yeah.
Because I have no...
I mean, God, I can't even remember what actually like ended it, really. I don't think so.
You
Off the
guys
top of my head.
eventually, I think I did some crazy reveal, and this is the bad part where I don't remember a lot of the stuff that I revealed at the end.
Yeah.
But I think you Shrite, so Jan, the guy who was helping you figure out where to go, was actually the long lost brother of Shrite, the mad, like, winged elf that had, like... Because I had, like, this weird underarch storyline where the high elves were chopping the wings off of the winged elves and basically being like, you guys are high elves as well. Winged elves shouldn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
But then there were winged elves that were like, nah, we are the divine.
I think that's probably
species.
one of the only big focal points I remember is that when
Sun elves?
Yorick, did we get him his wings back, or he got skeletal wings or something?
Yeah, but that wasn't Yorick, that was Jan. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, see, here's where it's just Here's
two-
where the thing where it's just like the 5 levels of
Like Yorick was
tiers,
like,
yeah.
So you had like, because there's someone below Yorick as well, but like Yorick was supposed to be
Was
like
there?
semi-powerful, and then Jan was supposed to be super powerful, but then Shrite was supposed to be the most powerful, something like that. But the power levels start to get confusing, and there's too many layers. And I think if we were all invested enough, we could have rode it out for another campaign, and it could have gotten crazy. But
You need a Deus Ex retcon.
yeah, I need a fucking break, and
Yeah.
2, I was even figuring out in those last 3 sections of the campaign that not for any fault of you guys, but I was losing you guys. Like for a minute, I was like, if I do this big reveal, I'm gonna worry they're not even gonna know it's a reveal. You know?
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
because I'm adding too many layers, and also everyone at that point has their own agendas that they're focusing on. You know?
yeah. I mean, I feel like maybe the same thing kind of a little bit happened with my campaign because it lasted so long. But at least I definitively knew how I wanted to end it with like my kind of like fusion of like Infinity Wars and one of the Flash storylines.
Oh.
And that kind of like kept people engaged because they knew that they were searching for these things. And I don't know, maybe it was kind of like a bit of the effect of the fact that I got grandfathered down from your campaign, like because I used our characters as the antagonists.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because like
that was a crazy
yours,
play in itself. Like,
yeah, it was like it's something they're already attached to.
Yeah.
So they would of course pay attention to fighting their own characters and, you know, finding these like all powerful items and stuff like that. Whereas with like your lore, not to like shit on everything, because obviously I loved your campaign, obviously, always be like super into it and everything, but it would sometimes be like what is actually like going on, like who is actually who. Well, like at least like the main people I would remember would be like Balgor was always a big thing for my character, at least.
Yeah, and Zelagor, and
so was Yorick
and White Eyes and all of, like, because these are people who came from Alex's campaign.
But when it came to like Yan, it'd be like, okay, but at least like we knew Shrite was the big bad.
I guarantee I don't think I ever even named Yan. Was never actually Yan in the real world.
Yeah,
I think that was one of the things I realized, where in my head I was like, okay, so Yan's going to come out and he's going to do something mysterious.
You just used him as this metaphysical version of a DM.
Exactly, but I never actually told you, right, this guy that's about to pop up is Yan. So actually you had loads of interactions as a character you actually never knew about. But what I start to realize is you have to, because a lot of these characters turn up on the spot. I can't remember the name of the character, but the one that I killed off, the young...
Oh, the one that we forever remember.
Yeah.
That got memed.
But he was never supposed to be a character. He was fully
was it like Trevor or something? I don't know.
I can't remember.
I think I was just go to Trevor.
He was like some little thief that like one of you guys met, little elven thief that you met. And I was like, yeah, all right. Bring him with you. And then all of a sudden, like 4 months later, he's still in the party. I'm like, this guy's got to go, because I've written nothing about him. So there was that crazy moment when did Jono kill him?
No,
or was it Sam?
you pre-wrote in a quite a big boss fight. I would say you pre-wrote that Sam would have dodged out of the way of a giant black arrow that killed him, but Sam wasn't there. Yeah. So you had to have Liam take his place instead.
Yeah. I remember now. And then, he gets...
And we were all like, fuck, because, I mean, it was basically our first D&D campaign, and even just having an NPC being killed off was like, that we actually quite liked, was devastating.
He had a crazy, because I made him really lovable.
He was OP too.
And
his dex stat was like insane.
Yeah, because like there were loads of... Because he was, I feel like, when Alex used to play, he made a character called Motherfucker Jones.
Yeah, I remember.
Who was just this cool as fuck, like, witch hunter. To me, he was this witch hunter style, kind of piratey, bit Samuel Jackson.
I'm just picturing Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, like all of that, like, together.
As Blade.
Literally. And that made him, like, really cool. But then I don't want to get my wires crossed, but I'm pretty sure Alex revealed later on that he was like evil all along or something, and it was like, oh,
I don't know.
But yeah, it's annoying when like, oh, I've put a lot of effort into this like crazy back lore character, but your party might just fall in love with that random character you made up on a whim. Yeah, they bump into it, and now you've got to flesh them out all of a sudden.
I'm kind of blessed that I did bring one of my favorite and everyone else's favorite characters into my Cyberpunk, because when they do meet him, it will be great, because I already know they like him. It's quite funny. Yeah, I've introduced my like kind of like Yorick character. For people not D&D, are D&D, like a Gandalf or what's like a good other kind of like
Gandalf
mentor,
kind of mentorish. God, it's kind of hard to name one apart from Gandalf. I guess Dumbledore in a weird way.
Like Obi-Wan, like more as like Ben Kenobi or something.
Like a Ben Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, that kind of energy.
But I've gone. So I have that character that it's the one that they'll interact with the most, that they'll kind of like help along with the stuff. He's just like invited them to like join their his gang. But I'm taking a weird edge in it because it is Cyberpunk. He's a lot younger. He's like 25, but he's just kind of like this guy that's been in the underworld for a long time. So that's kind of like where that level is going to be of like mentorship and whatnot. Yeah, usually it's like a proper grizzled old dude, but yeah, I'm scared that the guys will either not like him and I have to do something or something like that. But I mean, that's quite funny that you say that, because that was what happened initially. I had him sitting on a bench outside the like co-op he was just like reading a newspaper, and then they walk into the co-op, and then he eventually busts in afterwards with his katana, like, I'm gonna save your ass.
Yeah. It's like, oh, there's a mysterious guy sitting right next to the place you're trying to go to, and they're like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, we're gonna go into the shop.
Yeah.
Like, the mysterious guy watches you go into the shop. And I'm like, yeah, cool. I don't care.
It was great as well because I had one of them read, the person who walked past read the headline. It said like gang violence continues to stir in local areas. So it's kind of like a tiny bit of foreshadowing in a sense.
Yeah. That's clever. That's cool. But yeah, I'm hoping I can continue. Like I said, one day you'll just get a little like invite, and I'll be like, right, I'm back for like,
I hope so. I'm really excited. Since I've started my new campaign, and I'll give a little shout out to my recent most babe of a friend, Michael, because he started at the end of my campaign and he didn't get to like fully flesh out a character or anything like that. And now he's literally started from day one, and he is such a driving force for roleplay that you can see that he like bounces off of other people and that they are more incentivized to actually get into their characters. And like even me, like he in real life really likes co-op cookies. Every time he goes to the co-op, he gets cookies. And in the future, I called this psycho-op. So he goes into the psycho-op, and he's like, oh, well, in real life, I get cookies from here. So my character is going to get cookies. And that ended up going on this whole tangent, and where he doesn't get the cookies that he wants.
Yeah. And
ends up finding some like cookies that are from like 200 years ago or something like that have turned to dust. Snorts them, has like a crazy trip of a time. But yeah, it's just because he like RP'd this one random thing, and that ended up being like a focal point in my game that was really fun and everyone like loves. And that's probably going to be something that I'll revisit in my later games.
Oh yeah, I mean everyone loves a callback at the end of the day.
Yeah,
which is how I think a lot of funny D&D moments happen, is when you get callbacks to, like, I think there was a stage when my character had a grappling hook.
Okay.
So,
I'm Batman.
Literally, so there was like a moment where it's like, oh well, everyone knows what I'm gonna do now. Gets out the grappling hook and just does some fucking crazy shit. Or what is that fucking I'm trying to think. There's like a kind of like that moment, like there's two references I'm thinking of in Marvel. One of them is when in Ragnarok, where Loki and Thor do the help me thing.
Yes.
So there's always, like, I feel in D&D, there's always that sort of moment. But then there's that moment that everyone always refers to, like what Hawkeye and Black Widow refer to when they're like, oh yeah, let's not bring up Budapest.
Yes.
And both of those things are things that happen in D&D. You always have a moment that you will refer to. It's like, let's not have a repeat of that. But you also will always have a get out of jail free card of like, right, if this goes south, shall we just put on, I can't remember my friend Nick, the amount of weird cum related like scenarios he would just conjure up. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it was him, but someone in our party at one point fabricated a frozen cum sword to get out of a situation once, and that was like our Budapest moment.
Okay.
It was fucking wild, but like that's like when we say God, you can do whatever you want in D&D, we're dead fucking
serious. It is
serious.
literally whatever you want. I mean, I am quite fluid in letting my player characters have relationships, and I will explicitly describe what is going on.
Oh, what, like fucking Alison Brie's character in the Forbidden Community episode.
Yeah.
They have that crazy moment where she's describing what she's going to do for the innkeeper or whatever.
There was one time George's character, and because of the like grandfathering down, he was like a bone minotaur. All of his skin was turning to bone. Yeah, like, and he had like bone armor. So his hands were bone, and he rolled like some insanely high charisma check to seduce this lady in like a church or like a bookcase or something. Yeah. And I was just like, sure, I want to see like how he actually like wants to do this, because how do you physically have sex with someone if you are a skeleton, right? Yeah. And it ended up with just this spiel, and these are George's words, not mine, but like he literally did say, I think it was like, I'm gonna shove my bony fingers in your pussy or something like that. It was something along those lines. I remember like bony fingers, and yeah, it was a great moment, but man,
anything can happen. But yeah, I really wish, find a way, if anyone's gonna watch any Community episode, watch the D&D episode.
Oh yeah, because we do the loop round has come back. Yeah, we said we were going to talk about it. If you can find it, that is. I'm not actually sure where it's accessible now.
Because obviously it got removed off Netflix because there's a drow in it. Chang LARPs as the drow.
Yes.
And drows are dark elves who have grey or black skin. And obviously,
or like a dark purple sometimes, you know.
So obviously in this case, there was a lot of drama around blackface being in loads of shows. So this got fell into the category where, even I think that was the irony of it, where it was like completely to the innocent mind, oh yeah, he's a drow.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's just a drow. But then like anyone who understands like the history,
that's the level of Community, right? That's what they were doing.
It's like the Tropic Thunder thing as well.
Yeah.
Like both of kind of are actually
Community wouldn't just do something so blatant without like some kind of like highbrow reason for it.
Exactly. There was and it was really I mean, even then it was for one joke in the whole, and I don't think they even talked about it ever again. But the rest of it, like with the scene, I can't remember what Alison Brie's character's name is, but like the scene where she has to explain how she seduces the innkeeper, and everyone's like,
I just always remember the hand motion of her like that or something,
explaining what she was going to do. Or was it yeah, it was.
It's like the shape of the butt or whatever.
Something like it was what, but yeah, that's like the D&D energy that I.
For anyone interested in D&D, try and find the D&D Community episode.
If you don't enjoy that episode, you might not enjoy D&D, but I really severely doubt you wouldn't enjoy that episode.
An old man rubs his balls on a sword, if that's anything to get you into it.
Oh, classic. Yeah.
I might have to go home and watch that episode, not gonna lie, it's been a hot while.
Well, I'm gonna watch this Celebrity D&D Geeks and Sundry with Samuel Tarly.
I might see what that's saying too.
But yeah, I'm gonna try and see if I can. I'm really curious to see if I can get like a soundscape throughout this. I've got the whole of tomorrow to edit, so
nice.
And I was hoping this would be a short. I mean, it still kind of is a short episode, hour and a half, but yeah. Thank you for coming on.
No worries. I mean, like, we didn't even touch on Marvel, and I could have just
I feared if we got into Marvel,
I think it would have gone too long.
Like 4 hours,
yeah, I think that's just the chat that we just need to have like as friends, like not on a podcast.
I mean,
I was thinking about this, and I would have.
The world needs to hear my Red Hulk theory, though. Everyone has to hear this. Red Hulk is going to come into the MCU.
I know. There's a Red Hulk theory because of like Thunderbolt Ross and whatever and stuff.
He deserves it.
Yeah, I wanted to touch like on all three, like WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, and like Loki, and I wanted to chat about like the future of Marvel, and I wanted to chat about What If. So that's just the whole.
I've literally just seen the latest What If episode as well.
What today? Well, like a couple of days ago. Because episode 2 is so good.
Because the first one was a bit eh.
I mean, I liked it. I liked the like parallels, but mini tangent before we start. But two is just what you would want.
2 is like exactly what's hoping What If would be.
It's like you take the Marvel universe, right, and you put people like in a D&D campaign, and then like the future timeline is just being affected by like what random decisions are being made and stuff. It's crazy.
I mean, and I like that it's like basically non-canon, like it's just filler, and I like that it's casual.
Oh, the multiverse, man, it is canon.
I mean, everything's technically canon. You ever seen the film Chef, directed by Jon Favreau? That's technically canon.
Yeah, but remember I said before that it is gonna like Peggy from the first one is meant to be in other episodes. Yeah, she's meant to even go into season 2. Like they've already been like, there's season 2.
I didn't even know it was gonna be season 2.
They've, I guess, like the critics or whatever watched it and they were like, fuck.
Yeah, I'm I'm sitting tight, I kind of almost don't want to watch What If just so I can have a Marvel break, so I'm ready for the hype for. I'm actually really excited for Eternals.
Did you watch the latest trailer?
Yeah, it's finally a good trailer.
Yeah, I think all of the other ones are kind of like playing it close to their chest for a bit or whatnot, but yeah, it actually looks really good, and it's it's Chloe Zhao, right?
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, she's a
really
fucking great director, so I'm fucking hyped. Just to see Kit Harington and my boy. Sorry. The one who plays Rob Stark, lovely, sexy
the guy
man,
the beautiful man,
Mr.
who plays Rob Stark, but no one knows his real name.
Mr. Jawline.
Yeah. When he cries in 1917. Have you seen 1917?
No.
Oh,
I think we talked about this as well. 1917.
He's at the end and he cries, and I cried, and yeah. Anyways, we can have a whole episode. There's
enough waffles from all of America that I could be on Marvel, dude. Like,
yeah.
Even just, I think I could sit down for 3 hours and just talk about Kang.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if literally, if this episode gets any sort of a good reception like the last couple have had, I'll have you back, and we'll literally get a night, get the caffeine out, and like, right, let's see how long we can talk about. Because I am just a sponge
for stuff like that. Like, I will just be constantly watching things and just too many hot takes, my dude. Too many.
Oh, for sure. Like, I think there's like, when it comes to subjects I can talk way too much about, pop culture specific, like even like fashion, I can go on about fashion for fucking ages. I can go on about mountains for fucking ages. But like pop culture, like the Marvel universe, I will go be all, like, I understand, like it's a lot, it's cringe to a lot of people, but I can literally, like, comics and all that, I can go into for fucking ages. And then even stuff like there's animes like Evangelion I can talk about out of my arse cheeks. Like, I cried to Thrice Upon a Time. Oh my god, it's so
I feel like
good.
Japan, it's just a whole other different. Well, anyway, before we continue to waffle on,
I feel like we're literally having to hold back from going off.
Yeah, it is like I need to like go, and
I'm hungry.
I need to like smoke a cigarette or something, honestly.
I need a deep breath after
that. If you've enjoyed the nerdgasm of me and Matt.
This is quite a nerdy tangent on what I originally was expecting Nightcall to be about. But anyway, we might revisit. I really like the idea of us having like a 4-hour episode.
I genuinely think it'd be so easy. I was kind of like a bit like partly like, man, could I actually like sit and just like waffle on? And I was like, oh wait, yeah, no, that's too easy. Yeah. It's me and Matt. It's like what we do.
When we were starting to scrape an hour, I was like, we could literally fucking talk about this.
Yeah.
And we haven't even gotten on to like, right, let me get like, if we got out like if we were both on our laptops and we were just like on the wikis, we could fucking go for years, you know. Anyways.
Is that iCarly stuff in?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, fuck yeah, bro. I'm so hyped for people to hear about the iCarly chat. Well, I'm going to leave you then. Love you lots. I'm putting my phone down. Bye. Beep.